From training some of the most formidable MMA fighters to being one of the UFC's only double champions, here's the real reason that Henry Cejudo will destroy Aljamain Sterling. Wait a minute, am I hearing two GOATs at the same time? Right off the bat, if you're training Johnny Bones Jones, you must be on some other level. The former UFC lightweight and current heavyweight beast has nothing but praise for Triple C. During his appearance at Fight Ready MMA, John called Cejudo a great leader and tactician. His fighter IQ is what gave John the necessary goods to absolutely violate Cyril Gane. Call him Mystic Triple C, cause he predicted it to a T. Cejudo went deep in the details with John with each session, including the finishing sequence of the bout. And John isn't the only fighter who has been under Cejudo's wing. We're talking Yuri Prochazka, Davison Figueiredo, and Zhang Weili. All have been a part of his tutelage since his last competition. Despite Cejudo being half his size, the fact that John came to him to train for his big comeback speaks for itself. Guess the duo has that GOAT connection we just don't understand. John particularly appreciated Cejudo's passion for the sport, which really shows how Henry can hang up the gloves and call it a day on an illustrious career. According to MMA Weekly, the reason why Cejudo was MIA for all this time was because he just got bored of winning. He's the youngest American gold medalist, two-division champ, 16-2 record. The man has done all there is to do as an athlete. And where people often criticize Khabib for fighting nobodies in the GOAT debate, Cejudo's bag of victories is heavy with some major UFC legends. We're talking Demetrius Johnson, TD Dominic Cruz, and TJ Dillashaw. If we were Aljamain Sterling right now, we'd be replaying his highlight reel of famous stoppages in preparation for the fight. The man took out Dillashaw in just 32 seconds with a brutal barrage of strikes that forced the referee to call the knockout. He was the only man to stop the Dominator Cruz in an MMA bout despite recovering from a major cut during the fight. Stepping out of the UFC for a sec, he's also picked up W's against Bellator champ Sergio Pettis, alongside a decision win against arguably the best 125-pounder at the time, Jussier Formiga. His only two losses came against Johnson, which he redeemed himself for in their rematch and a controversial decision against Joseph Benavidez. He was also one of UFC's only double champions alongside Conor McGregor, Daniel D.C. Cormier, and Amanda Nunes. Cejudo acquired both the flyweight and bantamweight titles within a gap of a year. The man was an absolute cheat code. But perhaps the secret behind all these wins is Cejudo's versatility. The man doesn't even need a favorite move to dominate his opponents. When asked by Men's Health as to what his weapon of choice is in the octagon, Cejudo remained hush-hush for the most part. His refusal wasn't because he didn't want to out his blueprint to other fighters, but because there isn't any. Cejudo revealed that he fights according to reaction, which is also why fighters love being coached by him. He understands that MMA isn't simply black or white, but develops. He lets his fighters be themselves in the camp, since that was his motto throughout his career. Even though Cejudo's forte is and always has been wrestling, it's his striking that will particularly create problems for Aljamain. One of the most prominent elements in Triple C's evolution as a fighter is his adoption of Shotokan Karate. This is what makes his strikes so lethal. Before discovering the Japanese martial art, he only favored his right hand to take his opponents out. Sterling better be ready to face Cejudo before it's too late, because he'll be stepping in against a man who's more bladed in his stance. Henry menacingly stands sideward, his feet apart, which allows him great mobility and blistering speed. What's worse is that this stance lets him be on the defensive too, gliding back whenever they try to counter. And assuming Sterling has enough of the hide and seek and tries to go in for the kill, you best believe he'll have Henry's fist waiting for him. Just considering Cejudo's natural speed advantage over Sterling is enough to put our money on him. But perhaps the most powerful trait in Cejudo's arsenal is sheer conditioning. Don't get me wrong, the Funk Master can really go the distance when he wants to. But he does have the tendency to gas out when his back is against the wall and facing an opponent who keeps him on his toes. This was evident when Sterling took on Petr Yan. Sterling began the fight at a very high pace and slowly tired himself out, giving Yan to breeze through him. Yeah, he can't do that with Cejudo. The man can fight a guy for 25 minutes without breaking a sweat. And mind you, Cejudo is a way better wrestler than Jan, and can pump out way more potent combinations to take him out. If I'm Sterling, I'll rely on my wrestling background and fight fire with fire. The only way that we could see Aljamain win is if he uses his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wisely. But considering Cejudo's experience and fighter IQ, there's only so much the Funk Master can do. That being said, what's behind his rigorous stamina and drive to win? In the first episode of his Return of the GOAT series, we get a load of how Cejudo handles himself outside the ring. The episode begins with Triple C giving us a tour of his Hall of Fame, and can I just say, wow. Decorated in gold, this is the room that keeps Cejudo motivated and passionate about the sport. Cejudo's philosophy? When you've done so much, you gotta enjoy it. But back to the drawing board, we're treated with Cejudo having a meeting with his team as he schedules his training camp for the week. And boy, does it look organized. I mean, what can you expect from a champion who's also trained champions? Each training routine is especially designed for each facet of his game plan. Cejudo has a specialized strength training routine just to polish his ground and pound. While he's being restrained by some resistance bands, this is what keeps his lungs fired up throughout the bout. Cejudo presents a roadmap of where he needs to improve to his team, while names such as Eric Albarracin and Eddie Cha give their expertise to give the best possible results. In the training montage, we see Cejudo getting that strength. Just a year ago, Henry pulled off a jaw-dropping 12-week body transformation, losing about 4 to 5% of body fat, getting ripped before his fight with Cruz. Even though there isn't much on how he fuels his body, there's an old Instagram video where he's seen ordering some very well-balanced meals. The Olympic gold medalist revealed that he receives his orders every 3 to 4 days from a French kitchen. Champs gotta eat. The greatest names in the UFC just can't deny Henry's fighting prowess. We've seen the likes of Khabib Nurmagomedov claim that there's no other bantam or flyweight fighter who has what Cejudo brings to the table. The former #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC, Alexander Volkanovski, put fighting Cejudo as a way of earning a GOAT status. Demetrius Johnson broke it down for us on the Joe Rogan podcast, saying his training partner would breeze through the Funk Master. DJ has called him the most disciplined fighter he's worked with. The two fighters test each other, pushing each other to be the best, kinda like Goku and Vegeta, and that when Henry eyes a chink in his opponent's armor, he will go attack mode till they finally cave in. Dominic Cruz would second that. Those leg kicks were killer. And can I just say, Sterling really doesn't want these hands. No, seriously. The #1 contender for the bantamweight title, Sugar Sean O'Malley, revealed how Sterling was being forced into the fight and that the champ really doesn't want to go into camp. Honestly, knowing you're going up against the greatest combat athlete of all time, I really don't blame him. And that was the real reason that Henry Cejudo will destroy Aljamain Sterling.